All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun or Smirking Reviews or Smirking Rob or Smirking Rob Plays or Smirking Rob Plays Games or whatever the hell I'm calling myself these days. Forgive my voice. It's been a lot today. This is the official C2E2 2024 Day 1 Friday recap, my experience video made possible by a lot of people. But one in particular that I got to thank for making this possible is out there. You know who you are. And that's the main reason I'm here. Also, because there was a lot going on. And I really wanted to come again. And I'm glad that I went. And I'm helping out a buddy get some stuff done at the same time. It's a lot, but it's been a wild day, and in true fashion, this is gonna be one of my videos. So this is my blog, basically, right? So we're gonna talk about all of it. And first off, I just want to talk about because I'm at the Congress Plaza Hotel right now. I'm right across the street from Grant Park, and also let me know if you guys can hear me all right. uh, Sirens in the background, the Sears Tower right there, watching the elevated train go by, walking past the brownstones. I, whenever I come here, I am just where I'm supposed to be. And I don't want to knock where I live, but every time I come here, I'm like, how do I get here? How do I make this happen? How do I get to this place? And I don't mean because it's like, like it's like it looks affluent or means more money or anything. It's just I've always kind of wanted to live in that brown stony, you're close to your neighbors but you're not close at all, and everything is going and no one's paying attention to you, and you'd have to act like a complete maniac to hardly to be noticed by anyone. I love it so much, just walking around the streets of Chicago tonight. The rain stopped and it was so cool and cooled me off. And I'm perfect. I work in a freezer and a cooler all day, so I love this that temperature. And just I'm walking her down the street back and forth to my hotel. I didn't take no cabs. My feet are gonna feel it tomorrow. I soaked them already once. Um, but it's just such a great feeling to be here. And staying at this is a really nice room, considering like for me this is a really nice room. And I love that on the way to get to my room, it's basically like the Get Smart hallways that just never end. Like he just, how Maxwell Smart on the old Get Smart show is always walking through another door and another door and another door and up an elevator, down some stairs. That's what it feels like, and I should be annoyed, but I love it. I loved it. Um, and I was able to come back here midway through to check in and drop everything off that had already been done. Um, but yeah, just coming down here, this whole experience so far has been a wild and crazy ride. I was up at 4:30 this morning. No, yeah, like 4:30 this morning. And was out the door by 5:40. Got to the train station. Um, did all that, got on the train, and I loaded up my tablets with Across the Spider Verse and the new Kate Blanchett narrated Netflix nature documentary series. And I didn't even bother. I just looked out the window. It was like, again, this is the first time though that I've come down here, and even though I'm like it's stressful doing all of this all by yourself, um but it's still that like this was the first time I really felt like I was taking a break from my troubles. Like it really felt like, even though this is only a couple of days, it was like immediately when I was away from like any problems or regular stuff, it was just like suddenly my head was just clear. It's amazing what getting the hell out of Dodge can do. But anyway, got downtown right around 8, right into a cab, right to the place, right inside. I was one of the first people, like we were really close. I'm not VIP, which we're going to bring up in a second, or at some point. But we were really close to the front of the line to just get in. Probably the first 200 people that weren't VIP, and when you get in there. Here's something that I'll give to the people, since it's early in the video, and people might not want to watch for this long. I'm going to give anybody that's going tomorrow or Sunday a little map for where you can go to find certain things. Okay. When you first walk in, if you're looking for the Powerpuff Girls like Tara Strong, Vanessa Marshall, all of them, they are basically like right when you walk in. They're at $7 a pop, and you won't miss them. To the left of them is the big Funko exhibit, where you get in there and get all these exclusive Funkos right at the front. Now, right behind, and a little to like, if you're pretend that you're facing into C2E2, okay? From the front where the Powerpuff Girls are to the back right of them, behind them and to the right a little bit, you're going to run into the X-Men 97 experience, where it's Cal Dodd, Allison Court, Catherine Disher, and oh crap, Lenore, who plays Rogue, and the gentleman who plays Bishop. I can't remember everybody's names right now, but they are all there. And then if you're looking for the celebrities, okay, far back left corner as you're coming in is where you're going to find like Kevin Smith. Far right corner, all the way in the far right, that's where you're going to find Mads Mikkelsen. Okay. Also, where Kevin Smith is, all the way in that left-hand corner, is where the wrestling stuff is, like the wrestling celebrities. Then you've got, next to Kevin Smith, you start with like Christopher Lloyd, and then you have Steve Bloom and Tia Serkare, and then you have a bunch of all the anime voice actors all in a row. After that, it's like Tom Skerritt. Also, Freddie Prinze Jr. is in there next to like Steve Bloom, and Rachel Lee Cook are right there next to Steve Bloom, Tia Serkare. Those two are right next to each other. In fact, yeah, don't want to get everybody too confused. Then past the anime and like the Rick and Morty, Samoa Joe stuff, you've got Tom Skerritt, Veronica Cartwright. They're there. And I can't remember everybody that's doing like all the celebrity stuff anymore, but that's where you'll find them. Artist Alley is where Artist Alley always is. But they've also got a bunch of comic book stuff that's kind of separated and put in different sections. Tinian, or Tynan, I don't know, man. One of them, the man who writes Department of Truth, Something is Killing the Children, he was on Batman, yada, yada, yada. That guy, he's got his own section slightly off of Artist Alley. He's more towards where they have more t-shirts and stuff next to Artist Alley, but not the ones that are way the hell away. I'm talking about the ones up near the front of the place, but next to like the food court. He is right there. They've also got a bunch of sponsored guys. So instead of being with like Marvel, certain guys that are do mostly Marvel covers, they do a lot of stuff, but like they're sponsored guys. So look for sponsored groups of sponsored artists and writers, because they do have them kind of in different random spots. Marvel's still pretty much with Marvel, the current Marvel stuff anyway. DC's a little with DC, and then you've got like if you're looking for stray dogs and like Tony Fleece, they're up like in the toy section. They're like in the middle of like the comics, like where you can just buy all the random comics you want next to all the action figures and stuff. That's where they got Trish Forstner and Tony Fleece. I couldn't find them to save my life. I finally found them. It took me a while to find Channel Awesome too, because I was looking for Brad Jones. I found the booth, but I didn't find him. So much. Okay, so that's basically the map. A little bit of the map that I'll give you about some of this stuff. So once I got in there, though, it was just on. It was just on. All right. It started off like kind of rocky because I saw Chip Zdarsky. I saw him right away. Oh well, I was near done with a lap. I'd scoped out a lot of where things were, but right at the beginning, they didn't even have everybody's full, like they didn't even quite have everything set where all the celebrities were going to be. So I found Chip Zdarsky and I saw a little bit of people. But then I realized it wasn't just a little bit, and it looked like it was continuing to grow faster and faster, because you have to remember a couple of things. Chip Zdarsky hasn't been at C2E2 since 2016. And since 2016, which is when I got back into comics, all right, I didn't go to a C2E2 for another 2 or 3 years. So I had already missed him by a couple of years. And since then, he's done, if I had to tell you how many books Chip Zdarsky's done since 2016, he is the big comic draw. Claremont's not there. And I'm not saying that there aren't a ton of other people to pay attention to, because there are. And there's so many artists that I wish I could support them all. I really do. I hate walking past booths of people whose art is great, but I'm just not there for them. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I wish I could just buy something from everybody. And I don't mean that in like some pity way. Just literally, I would love to grab so much stuff from the artists that are there. But Chip Zdarsky's line was getting long. So I said, all right, I'm doing this. I don't think anything that I need to do is coming up right now. So I get in line with Chip, except they've decided to like VIP and put general and VIP. And it's been going, all right? It's been going for a little while. But this was the first year where I got a little annoyed with it, because the VIPs, okay, they're not just your typical, a lot of them aren't just your typical, oh, I just really wanted to be like getting a fast pass or something. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I just, I have some extra money and I've got a lot to do. So when I go, I'd like to be first in line to get my shit done, right? I can kind of understand that, right? But these dudes are having every guy up there that's VIP just about is up there rolling with a bunch of stuff, or and I mean with celebrities and comics. They're rolling up there with like all these blank covers where they want these guys to sketch stuff, which they offer that. Okay. I'm not saying that it's not, it's there to be offered, but it's like they're at the front of the line. These are all VIPs, mind you. Okay. They actually had to stop having Chip do sketches. And I should also remind you that, yes, Chip Zdarsky has done covers. You're going to see a couple of them here, but he doesn't really, he's the writer mostly. And by mostly, I mean like 99.9% of the time, he's just the writer. So they have the line is not moving, and it's not moving, and time is going. And I'm like, holy shit. I've just spent the first 2 hours trying to get one guy's autograph at the beginning of C2E2. They finally had to stop doing sketches because he had to get to a panel, and all the VIP sketches were just taking too long. So my first beef with the VIPs was just like they weren't just, getting fast passes. They were up there to like I get yeah, it's just I guess it's just I probably just sound like the guy at the bottom looking at the have not and the haves and going, why isn't that me? But I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have had him make a bunch of skip, but whatever. So I finally get up there and I got my autographs. And I even told everybody, I had all my books ready to be signed. I also found out that if you make it personal, if he personalizes it to you, you didn't have to pay Chip Zdarsky anything for any of his autographs. And since I know that was an incentive to, keep people want to sell this stuff on eBay. I don't. Okay, I don't. I don't want to sell my shit on eBay. I might sell my collection someday, but if they want my books, they're going to have to deal with to Rob from Chip because I don't care. But I got my Daredevil #1 signed to Rob. And by the way, that's how he signs it, all his stuff as you'll see right here, with his Daredevil #14, where he got to draw this cover, right? His actual signature is right there. So that's how he does his signatures. And he did that. He also, for one issue of Donny Cates's book Crossover, he took over writing duties to do a story about himself. This was when he signed this. I should also mention, like, to this he was like, oh yeah, this is the one they let me sign. When he talked about Crossover, the one where he wrote this issue and he wrote himself into it, very adaptation, if you know what I mean. Spike Jonze. No, not Spike Jonze. The guy Charlie Kaufman. But anyway, he was like, this book was a trip. Also, one of his more current books, Public Domain. The first issue of that. The first issue of the very, very excellent book, Stillwater. Stillwater, man. It's a great book. He also did the cover of this Spider's Shadow #1. His signature, I believe, is in that corner again. Where is it? There it is. Spider-Man, Spider's Shadow. Chip Zdarsky did the cover and he wrote it, so it's a double whammy. Then I got to talk to him for a second. I did talk, by the way. I mean, I was going to take a bit of my moment to shine. Like, he wanted me to, too. He's like, hey, man, you waited in line. That's what he's like. You spent your time waiting in line to get to me. So, I said, I was talking to him about Avengers Twilight real briefly, about how I really loved it. He said this book has been in the works since 2019. And he said it was really weird trying to write this book for so long because he says, like Nazis, literal Nazis in the book stormed the Capitol. And he goes, and then guess what happened in real life? But we also talked about this that I had him sign as well. The second printing of the #1 of Avengers Twilight. And he said he wanted this to be the first cover. And I agree. I absolutely freaking agree. Even though don't knock Alex Ross over there. But Daniel Acuna's art here really embodies Avengers Twilight #1 so perfectly that he was like, oh yeah, man, I'm glad you did this one. So that was my Chip Zdarsky experience. He was really cool. It was great. Okay, then I went, and what did I do next? Then I went and found Mark Brooks. Let's see. Was that a spooky one? Let's see. I'm sorry, I haven't read the chat here. Odd Group Together. That's a great cover. That's actually really cool looking. And is that a spooky one? Is that Spider Shadow you're talking about? Or Stillwater? Stillwater is like, there's an episode of Fringe where, see, I'm not going to spoil Stillwater. I'm going to spoil an episode of Fringe, sort of. There's a town in an episode of Fringe where people don't get older. And that's all I'll say. So then I ran over to Mark Brooks because I was standing behind a couple who were having the same kind of feelings that I was about how long it was taking the sketch people to get through with asking for sketches from a writer. And I gotta stretch my legs out, folks. I thought I could sit Indian style, and it's really hurting. So anyway, the husband went over to see Mark Brooks, who's been doing a lot of excellent covers for Marvel for a while. And his big book that he does all the covers for is Immortal X-Men, and I think X-Men Forever as well. And he's done variants for a bunch of other X books. That's pretty much all I had him sign, except for a couple. He is really, really good. And they went over there and he got his sign, and he told me once he caught up to us, there was hardly anybody in line for Mark Brooks. I couldn't figure it out. He was kitty corner from this guy. All I did was I walked right up. I walked right up to Mark Brooks's booth. That shouldn't happen. But these are what I got signed from Mark Brooks. This is Avengers number 680. This is the cameo appearance of the Immortal Hulk in the cover. The second one I had him sign is Avengers 684, the first appearance of Immortal Hulk, one of my favorite books of all time. Then I had him do the double-sided cover for Inferno number 1. Lots of people. Then Immortal X-Men number 8. Now you could say, why did you have him do this one, Rob? Well, because it's just two ladies on the cover, but I wanted something to make sure that I kept this book, because this is a book where Mystique and Irene are basically Sherlock Holmes and Irene Adler, and how they get into they meet the original Mr. Sinister, the original Nathaniel Essex. It's a great book, and I just wanted to commemorate this cover with these two awesome characters. Then I did 8, 9, and 10. This Sinister cover is just redonkulously good to me. Kate Pryde standing there with Lockheed and her swords out, facing down Sinister and two giant guns. I just the dragon on her shoulder, just standing down like this guy. Then Immortal X-Men number 10. I'm sorry. Like, if you don't like it, you don't have to like it, but his art just hits me. Immortal X-Men number 16, our old pal and Sabanur, Apocalypse. I mean, look at that. Okay. These are the kind of covers that don't like that you see, like the art anyway. Get rid of this and this, the logos. There's so many artists that are doing this level of work that are just doing prints. Why aren't they working? I don't mean now like, whatever, but then I got the double cover. Fall of House of X, Rise of the Powers of X. Connecting cover, he signed both. I will show you this one. This has got the Wolverine side. Also, the Krakoan Gate connects if you can see. But this one's got Gambit. So I'm always going to focus on Gambit. I actually really like this one. So you got Cable and Havoc and everybody. And okay, that's Mark Brooks. Then I went to see Tia Sakar. She plays Ren Sabine on Rebels. And for me, as well as that, I know her from The Good Place as one of the demons, Vicky, who very much wants to. To talk about this, I'd have to talk about meeting her. She didn't have anything for The Good Place. I started talking to her about The Good Place, and she's like, you're the third person that's brought up The Good Place. So from now on, when I can, I'm going to get some of those prints because people keep asking about The Good Place. And I also said the reason I like your character and all the characters like yours on the show is that the demons on it remind me of people that work in the Empire and how they're all clawing for attention and to rise up in hell and to and stab each other in the back and just try to stumble, claw and fight over each other to get power. It's like that reminded me of the Empire. And she goes, "Oh my gosh, I never really thought of it like that." She's like, "I guess I have been on the dark side in some fashion." So that was my experience with Tia Sakar. I also was there for her, for my friend Gino, but I'm not going to show you his stuff because that's not for me to show off to the world. He can show it off for you. Anyway, so that was Tia Sakar. She was really cool, and she's beautiful, man. I'm sorry, but up close. My goodness. So then I ran around and there is a book called Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. You know how that old rhyme goes, the teddy bear's picnic? Well, it's written by a guy named Patrick Horvath. And it's a book about a teddy bear. Well, about a bear, an anthropomorphic bear who lives in an animal society. And he's does some bad stuff to other animals, characters. And it's basically, this book is really hard to find. I didn't even know it existed until about a couple of months ago, and I couldn't get my hands on it. Well, at his booth, I just stumbled on his booth. I knew he was there, but I didn't have any inkling that I didn't have any of his books. But they had one. They had an issue #1 foil, first printing. And so I got it for cheaper than you can get on eBay. I'll tell you that much. Way cheaper. I was just like, how can I pass that up? So Patrick Horvath signed this foil virgin cover of Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. So now I am going to read this mofo at some point because now I got it. And that was really cool. Oh, and I got a selfie with the guy, and that was fun too. People were offering a lot of selfies, and I'm an anxiety-ridden mess. So the fact that I can go to these things and suddenly be free and fine, I don't know what's up with that. Again, when I'm comfortable, suddenly I can accomplish things that I always think that I can't accomplish. It's weird though that it's in a public setting. So anyway, up next, what do we have next? All right. Then we found Mr. Art Adams. Now, normally I've in the past I've gotten a lot signed by Art Adams. I might still get 1 or 2 more books signed by him, but I really whittled them down to 2. And so this time I had Art sign my Walking Dead Deluxe #1 connecting cover. This was the #1 issue. There's a ton of these that he did. They are all connected. But for me to get him to sign all of them would cost me roughly about $120, $100 to $150. So I went with getting the #1 signed. Which, dude, if you want to see all the connecting covers, go to my channel and look up Arthur Adams connecting covers. A short I did. You'll see all these that I have. And so it's awesome. D's reviews in the house. D's reviews in the house shows, yeah, Walking Dead, buddy. Then we got this. I couldn't find this book. I've been trying to find this book in my collection. I thought somebody stole it. I finally found my Adams X-Men #12 Rogue variant. Hello. Sorry, but Jungle Rogue. I wanted this one to get signed for a while. This is a very 1990, 1989, maybe 90. Well, not the book, but Jungle Rogue. All right. I don't know how I ended up back in Indian style, but I'm back in Indian style. So while I get myself discombobulated, this would be a good time. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, to bring this up, this book that did not get signed, this did not get signed at the C2E2, but since he just passed, I wanted to show off again my Kevin Conroy that I got from at Wizard World a few years ago, back in like 2019, 2020. Detective Comics #1000, the Paul Dini cover. That's why I had him sign this, because it was like the animated series version. And I just wanted to remember that I did meet Kevin Conroy before he passed away. And there was a lot of older actors at this convention. And it's really bugging me that I didn't get to see Christopher Lloyd, because I don't know how, And Tom Skerritt is 90. Tom Skerritt is 90. Veronica Cartwright's 75. She's younger than him by 15 years. I had no idea Tom Skerritt was 90. So there was a lot to, if you get the chance, if you want to meet any of these people and you're in the area, what are you doing? Get here now. Okay. So I think I know why I end up in Indian style. It's because there's no other way to sit in this bed and do this like in this position. Okay. So then we found the Stray Dogs people. And they signed my limited edition, only 225 copies of the Stray Dogs trade paperback. Hey, Bill Casey's in the house. What's up, Bill? They did not sign the outside. Also, Trish Forstner did remember me. She wanted to thank me for being one of the, she brought up that I was one of the first people to review Stray Dogs at the beginning of the whole thing. And she was just like really cool. And there's more to say about that in a second. But yeah, this is the 225 copy Stray Dogs Silence of the Lambs cover that they signed. They signed the inside of. It's kind of hard to see, so that's okay. We'll just put that one aside. But they also signed my original Stray Dogs #1. Let's see, which one is this? I'll just call it the Stray Dogs thing cover. It's one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite homages to that thing, The Thing. This is a 5th printing of the first issue. 5th printing. This book sold pretty well. But this is the Bram Stoker's Dracula 5th printing of that book. My personal favorite. This is number 5. I believe it's 2nd or 3rd printing. The Crow cover. This one, I really wanted to make sure I did not miss out on this. And then Tony Fleece has a new book called Uncanny Valley about a kid with a kid who has cartoon powers, finds out he's a cartoon character, basically. He signed the Virgin cover of Uncanny Valley number 1. Wait a minute. Okay. And then they both I have 2 blank covers for Uncanny Valley and Feral. He signed one of the Uncanny Valley one, and she and him both signed Feral. I'm getting sketches on these tomorrow. I just wanted to see how everything was going to turn out before I did it. And then I'm going to ask them, I'm just saying it now, I'm going to ask them if after they're done with Feral, if they would like to do another interview on my channel. Okay. Then, and we haven't even gotten to the big news, man. So I'll just show off Inhuik Lee's Deadpool number 1 foil cover. All right. I only had one Inhuik Lee that I could find. And he signed this. And this guy was such a sweetheart. This guy was such a... You know, you just meet certain people and you just go, man, what a... Anyway. We haven't even gotten to the big news. But now we're to meeting Veronica Cartwright and Tom Skerritt. Now, I actually met Tom Skerritt second, but I'm going to talk about Tom Skerritt first. I saw him when they brought him in. He's 90, folks. He's 90. I'm not going to go into any further detail other than I remember my great-grandfather. He lived to be 90. He almost lived to be 100. Old Tom Skerritt, I hope you live to be 100. I got him to sign the picket fences picture. I think I was the first person to bring him this, to have him sign this. Because, like I said, he's 90. You know, I'll get close up to it. And when I put this in front of him, he paused. Like he hadn't seen it in a while. Or hadn't expected. Because everybody's giving him Alien, Top Gun, MASH, Alien, Top Gun, all the dudes, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that, man. You like what you like. I happen to like Picket Fences, a story about a Wisconsin family dealing with modern crises in a small town within a small town mentality where progress is pushing at the door. Kind of sound familiar? And how people learn to accept progress and new things and new ways of thinking, because that's the way time moves, folks, is forward, not fucking backward. And Tom pauses and he just was like, he puts his hand on it and he goes, This was such a special experience. And he just starts talking about David E. Kelly and the writing and how like it was all him. And he just like all of a sudden he came to life. And I look at him and I'm looking at him and I'm looking him in the eyes, and 90-year-old Tom Skerritt drops away, and I see, Sheriff Jimmy Brock from Picket Fences looking at me, telling me about how, it was all in the writing and we were just like like the little pieces to it, and like everybody made such a big deal, and he had the number of Emmys like that. He's like, we had this many Emmys and people just really blah blah blah. And I just sat there and I hardly could get a word in edgewise, because he was just rattling it off, and I was thinking to myself, how many more people, like, it just was really cool to have this moment, because I felt like everybody else behind me is still, they got all the alien props and posters of, Top Gun and Funkos of aliens and everything else. And I just wonder how many, how many conversations about this special show is Tom Skerritt going to get to have again with anybody? And I like to think, and I know that this is egotistical or narcissistic or whatever you want to call it, but it was a really special moment. And I, as somebody who lived in Wisconsin at the time of the show that was on, and just being a super, super, super fan of it, and tracking down the DVDs that are, not fun to find, you hope that they work in your DVD player, you know what I'm saying? And they have this moment of this guy talking about this special show. And I also told him that I am going to the Fan Expo in August, and I told him I'm going to have your TV daughter, Holly Marie Combs, sign this in August. And he just kind of stopped. And it was just so cool to have this experience where I wasn't just... See, I'm glad I'm able to talk sometimes the way I talk, because I think when you're sincere, and you have a genuine interest in what people have done, and a little, you're really good, like give them a little, but it's still all sincere, and you can have this, like, it's, I don't know, I've had these experiences with people, and it happens when you just kind of talk like you're just talking like to somebody that you already know. So that was Tom Skerritt. I walked away. I said, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet you, sir. And I tipped my hat to you, that kind of thing. And it was really awesome. Now, that was after I went to Veronica Cartwright. Veronica Cartwright, I was standing there in line, and when they brought her out, I was so excited. Because for me, this is my first X-Files alumni that I get to meet. The first X-Files alumni. I've never met any of them. And I get to meet, of all people, Cassandra freaking Spender. So look, if you don't want spoilers for the X-Files for a second, look, her character, I'll just say this. Her character, when she's introduced in season 5, as much as the show was progressing and leading somewhere, her character shows up like Cassandra's box, or no, that's Pandora's box. Man, I'm mixing up my fucking metaphors and my myths and legends and shit. Anyway, Cassandra basically was like a bomb that got dropped on that show, with everything that came out when she shows up and her arc. It literally, I feel like, is the flame that like set the end game to like this big conspiracy and everything into overdrive. Like, she really kicked the end game off by like everything that happened. And she did such an incredible job playing this person who had been basically living through nonstop hell. And when I went up to meet her, I I was gonna have her sign Invasion of the Body Snatchers because there were no X-Files pictures up there at all. So I sat down and I picked the Invasion of the Body Snatchers pictures, which was actually like if I had had the money, I'd have had her sign that one too, because you know how they like this. I'm not knocking this, right? I was happy that it was there, but it's like a Reed Pop, certified authentic. You know what I mean? The Invasion of the Body Snatchers picture looked like, I don't know, it was different. It looked like, I don't know, special. But she didn't have any X-Files. I put it in front of her. She's like, "Oh, Invasion of the Body Snatchers," and I said, "Yeah, I know, it's really cool." But I was like, I wanted to bring up. I said that I really liked you on the X-Files, and she goes, "Oh well, I've got some X-Files stuff right here in my own little thing that she has," and she brings out her own like personal folder of stuff, and she starts bringing out like choices like, well, there's this one, and then there's the same one in black and white, and then there's this other one, and she's just bringing it. She's like, because nobody had asked her about the X-Files again. Like nobody hardly asked Tia Sakar about The Good Place. Nobody asked Tom Skerritt, I think, about Picket Fences once, and she doesn't get anybody, I guess, that like wants to talk about X-Files. I mean, she's there to talk about aliens. It's like its 40th anniversary or I think, or something like that. But still, she had these in her own personal like stash. And when she finally pulled out the one that I wanted, I was like, that one. She was like, there was more, but I didn't need it. I was like, this one. And I started talking to her about what I said to you guys about the character basically being a bomb that gets dropped on the show, and she started going on about, yeah, and there were these cassette tapes that I was in them, and they were all like flying off the shelves because they were all about the mythology. And she just started going on, and we talked for a little while, and she wrote for Rob, I am the one. Cassandra Spender, X-Files. Best, Veronica Cartwright. And that's how you get a good experience. Like, and we're still not done, folks. I did get Vanessa Marshall to sign something for my friend. But on the way out, that's what I was trying to do. I was in line for Steve Bloom twice. His line is ridiculous, folks. It never seems to shrink or get any longer, really. It just stays in this one never-ending kind of to the line full. So I left Steve Bloom knowing, because somebody had said that the line was closed. They had a sign there saying, like, they were holding a sign that said line was closed, and the line hadn't moved anyway in a little while, and I was trying to get out of there. Been a long day. So that's when I went and shot over to In-Hyuk Lee, got him to sign my Deadpool #1. And then I swung over and had the experience that I had. I went to Vanessa Marshall after this. Yeah, Bloom is freaking amazeballs, and he does span so much. He does. The banner with all the things that Steve Bloom has done is there's so many characters on there. Okay, but right before I went to Vanessa Marshall, who was great, by the way, sweetheart, sweet person. Oh my gosh, the voice of Hera is just this cool lady. Cool lady. But right before that, I walked past. I wasn't going to do this, okay, because when I walked in, one of the first things I saw was the X-Men 97 setup. And I walked past. They weren't there yet. It was so early they weren't there, but they had everything set up and they had the prices all laid out. And I hadn't planned on, I didn't know like what this was going to be. I brought a bunch of X-Men 97 comics with me. because I wanted them signed by the cast, and I brought a bunch of stuff so I could get like more than one signature, thinking it's not going to be that much. It was. Every single one of them was a lot. So in order, if I were to have gotten, let's call it 4 of them to sign stuff, for just one autograph, it would have cost me one autograph each on one book. Would have cost me $240. So I said, well, I posted on the Discord. Well, that's not happening. I don't think I'm getting anybody's signature from X-Men 97. And then and it's like I was just called over there. Like it's just like something happened, like it just took over. And I'm walking past the X-Men 97 booth, and I'm a little forlorn walking past because I see Cal Dodd, the voice of Wolverine, just sitting there, not doing nothing. There's no line. And I think that was all it took was I saw that there was no one in front of line for fucking Wolverine. Like, and believe me, earlier it was crazy. You couldn't get. It would have been. I would have not been able to do as much as I did if I stood in line for Wolverine or Jubilee or Jean or Rogue. There was a lot of people surrounding the X-Men 97 table. Okay, they didn't need me, but seeing him sitting there with nothing to do, and I made eye contact. I think this is kind of it too. I accidentally made eye contact with the guy at the booth that's there at Cal Dodd's booth. And he looked at me, he kind of gave me the eyes of like, hey, you're interested, right? You? Yeah. Like, come on down, like a barker, like a, come down and see the bearded lady. Like he's just standing there, makes eye contact, and it's like he just hypnotized me, but I let it, you know what I mean? I rolled a wisdom save and I failed. Okay, I rolled a natural 1 on a wisdom save, and the dude just charmed me. And I was completely in his grasp. Suddenly, I'm on my knees, opening my backpack and pulling out X-Men 97 #1, the action figure variant that they had. And I picked the right book. And he's like, well, hey, for this amount of money, you can get a autograph and a selfie, which is where the part of the thumbnail comes in. And come on, Rob, you look like a dork. You look like a dork, man. He's got the claws, and I'm just standing there with my fists up, like put up like the guy that's going to try to fight Wolverine with no weapons, right? It should have been that. It should have just been like me going, ah, as he's like, ah. So yeah, I got 2 pictures out of it, by the way. The guy didn't know that he clicked the picture twice. So 2 pictures are on there. So I got more than my money's worth. So now I got 2 pictures to choose from of me standing next to Cal Dodd Wolverine. But before the picture, because I'm sorry, but I stood next to fucking Wolverine. I stood next to him before, folks. But you know how Kevin Conroy's Batman? Well, Cal Dodd. Look, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine in the big screen. But everywhere else for me, it's Cal Dodd, okay? Or my own voice, because I always imagine myself as a little Wolverine all the time. And yeah, I know. I'm wearing Cyclops glasses and blah, blah, blah. Man, I'm a big dork for thinking, you could never be Wolverine, you. Well, that's just whatever. But we talked, and they had not seen these covers. He looked at it and he was like going through it, and he's showing this. And he's like, have you seen these? And he's like, where did you get this? I was like, I just got it from Graham Cracker Comics, man. Like, like regular. There's a bunch of them, and they're like, which ones? Who else do they have? And I'm like, well, there's Rogue and Magneto and Goblin Queen, freaking Madeline Pryor, and I'm like, there's probably going to be more, and they're like, it was like they were speechless. They were like, how do we find like the who does the covers? And I'm showing Cal Dodd and the other lady, his assistant, like, well, you open it up here and you get to the like red pages. Usually they're white pages, like Hickman's white pages, but this is different. And find the variant covers listed right there, and that's where you see who did this. And while we're having like this long conversation, because he was like staring at this thing, he's like, what the hell? He couldn't believe, like, he'd never seen this before. So I showed Cal Dodd a comic he hadn't seen of himself. He says, to Rob, all the best, bub. And then Wolverine in the, come on, you know what I mean? He wears an X-Men Letterman's jacket everywhere. And then I go where I want to go. But that's not the end of the story. Oh no, folks. That is not the end of the story. So as I'm about to leave, I tell him, you know, where he's just like, thank you, this. And we're like, yeah, it was just such a cool experience, you know? And there was no one around. It was just me and him, the guy with the camera, his assistant, nobody else paying attention. And I say, yeah, you know, Sunday, I'm coming back dressed as Patch. And he's looking at me, he's like, yeah. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be dressed up as Patch. I've got the tuxedo, the bow tie, the eye patch, the shoes, the pants, and the claws. And he's like, you got to come back to the booth. You got to come back to the booth on Sunday. We're going to take they're not going to charge me or nothing. And we're going to take pictures together, and he's going to post it on his socials. I don't give a shit what it does for me. I don't want it to do anything. I don't care if people hate it. I don't care if people love it. But I do care that I'm going to have that experience with Cal Dodd on Sunday. Look, I'm sure that he's, has pictures taken with everybody that dresses up, and he's like, yeah, come on over. But I'm one of them. Okay, I get to be one of them this year. And guess what? I didn't see a single Patch walking around C2E2. So Sunday, Patch is coming. And I'm going to be standing next to Cal Dodd. My sister's going to be there too, man. So it's going to be a crazy Sunday. Tomorrow's going to be pretty easy. I got Freddie Prinze Jr., Steve Bloom, and that's about it. And then I can go home, and I'll probably run around and maybe look for some Funkos or something like that. But not, what I want to do is put any money I have left over back into my bank. That's what I really want to do. So I think I'm going to see Freddie Prinze Jr., and then I'm going to see Steve Bloom, and I think because everything else is going to be Sunday. Tara Strong, Lars Mikkelsen, Mads Mikkelsen, Hugh Dancy, all that. And then Cal Dodd. So Saturday will be a nice, easy check out from the hotel, do what I got to do, get back on the train, come home, sleep in my own bed, and drag my sister with me to the fun. Also, before I forget, in case she doesn't watch this and she's like, he didn't bring it up at all, I want to mention Lizzie from last year that's been a part of the Discord for a year, just over a year. And it was really great seeing her dressed up, her and her friend. She was Captain Carter. He was Captain America. It was awesome. We all were doing our own thing, but I am pretty sure we're going to reconnect at some point this weekend, especially Sunday, when my sister joins me for the festivities. So, dang, folks, that took about an hour, almost exactly, to talk about it. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my experience after I got done. I just walked around. I walked around a lot. I went to Epic Burger. I went to one of the million grocery stores and got some popcorn and a Gatorade, and I've got some other stuff to snack on, but I think I'm going to probably pass out here pretty soon. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, all that stuff. I'm talking so much with my hands tonight, but I hopefully get some good sleep tonight. So have a great night, everybody, and I'll see you on the next one of these recaps, hopefully Sunday or Monday when we discuss the next level bunch of stuff. So bye. The stream never ends.